All right, problem 3.3, more sketch patterns. Probably will throw in the feature pattern here just because the uh, units, millimeters, part origin location is indicated. I don't know why, well, we have the center, but this one looks like it is at the spoke, which is 1 millimeter off of the face. And then so when we do the direction, we'll have to manage so that that spoke is there. So we have 8 total of the spokes, 24 of the gears. So I'm thinking we'll probably do a sketch on the sketch pattern on the interior, but then we'll introduce the feature pattern on the gears on the outside. The keyway, nothing really special there. So because of the different levels, we're going to end up with our primary sketch or sketch one with 1, 2, 3, 4 circles, and then we'll figure out what it's doing with the offset from there. Even if we end up with the extra with a couple of bodies for a while, it'll all work out in the um, creating the geometry. As far as the view, um, we are in the front view, but it's again going to be at the face is going to be at the spoke level. So we're going to have to do some measures to make sure that that is all working out. All right, so in the front plane, we'll draw our 3 circles, 4 circles, get those in place. And between the outer and the inner lip, we're going to go 6.5. And the diameters then, so the inside was a radius of 8, so that one's going to be 16. Wow, that got really close to the first one that I drew. Don't think that I can. No, I was going to try to drag it, but really knew better than that. So radius of 14 is going to put that one at 28. And then let's shift it. All right, so that's looking pretty good so far. The 108 is to the top of the gear set, so I am still looking for a dimension on the diameter. So there we have the 6.5, the 2.5, radiuses, offsets. So either we have to back calculate this based on the height, 6 millimeters. Yeah, that's not going to be a favorite thing to do, but let's go with the 6 millimeters. And if that actually, that looks like a flat to me, not so much a radius to a radius. But all right, so the 108 minus 12, we're going to go with that for now, unless in the course of doing this, I find something that makes more sense. So 108 minus 12. All right, and so that was basically because there's going to be 6 on this side, 6 on this side. All right, that gives the geometry, and let's go ahead with the feature. Since there is a lot of noise in this one, we're going to do a blind in condition. I'm going to go ahead and send it off the 1 millimeter. The direction 2 then, we have the overall of 18. So from the sketch back, then that should be 17. And we hit the tab, and go ahead and see. Oh, well, it would help if I actually selected something. So since we have doubly nested or triply nested, we have a light gray, a darker gray, a darker gray, and a darker gray. So we want the two donuts, and that is going to give us two bodies to work with. And if I go to the right view, so Control 3 or Control 4, I can see that the origin sits just inside of that geometry. All right, so let's go ahead and work on um, the interior sketch. So back into the front plane, and I think I'm going to go ahead with a center line here and just use that for reference. The offset then 2.5 millimeters and 2.5 millimeters. So, it's a toss up of the offset 2.5 as opposed to just drawing the circle and then dimensioning it to the 2.5. So let's just stay with the offsets so that we can utilize those. And then I don't want these to come up tangent, so I'm going to draw it vertical and then escape, go in and make those coincident. So endpoint to circle coincident, endpoint to circle coincident. And then if I select, control select, I can go right into mirror and we can set a dimension. All right, so that one has an overall of 5. So what this is going to end up doing when I create this pattern is the center line gave me the vertical orientation. The line in between, if I just pick on the circle again, there's a possibility that it will slip right into tangency, and then I just pretty much have to delete it, or find the tangency relation and delete the tangency relation. Then I still end up adding the coincident, I still end up adding the vertical. So to a certain extent, if I know that I want it to be vertical, I'm just going to draw that line out in space and connect the endpoints to the circle. All right, so let's get into the circular pattern. I'm not going to pre-select this time. The parameters are rotation about the origin, so 0 and 0. If we needed to shift those or pick another point for reference, we could manipulate those, but that will work out okay. Do not need to dimension the radius. Well, let's see what we get. We're going to have a total of 8 spokes. So let's go with the 8. And the entities to pattern are going to be the 2 items for the spoke. So the preview looks pretty good. And we got a fully defined sketch, which I am a little bit surprised. But that gives us a decent amount of geometry. So since this sketch is located on the front plane and it already has the relief on the backside, we're going to subtract the 18 minus 1 gives us 16. So we are going to want to select our regions carefully. So I'm going to zoom up on one of these, hopefully still be able to see all of the spokes. All right, so that one has, oh, there's no sketch there. All right, and this is one of those times where it's not going to see it as a feature. So let's go with the items I can pick. And in this case, the center line is participating, so we'll get all of those in, and then I'm going to need to go back into the sketch to create the geometry. So that one also does not look like it picked up the circle, so we're going to have to select that one as well. All right, so I already had that one in place and would have thought, okay, well, let's go ahead and just, I'm going to pick that edge, lower edge of the interior cylinder and the lower edge of the exterior, and just tell it to convert entities. So again, convert entity says bring that geometry into the sketch. We're going to utilize it. And just by doing that on the center, it corrected the region that blew, well, it filled in and it blew the center back out. All right, so we need to go back in, pick our region, and make sure that that gets connected to the interior. All right, this would be a good time to do a few measurements and make sure that I'm reading this correctly. So 1 millimeter and then 1 millimeter. Okay, and we rotate over 1 millimeter and 1 millimeter. And then we have the 16 millimeters for the center. All right, so far so good. We're looking pretty good on the geometry. Let's continue with the pattern, and we'll do the keyway slot after. All right, so the geometry is 2 millimeters off. So let's see. We know that the face, we would need to shift it. All right, so let's do the geometry in the front plane. And one of the things with our decision making here is I would really going to have the geometry overlap. So when I draw this this sketch, I'm going to be doing something that is inclusive of the body, so that it does not generate gaps, any weird little fingernails, kind of the strange things that can happen with our sketches. So I'm going to escape out of the center line. We make sure that that one's vertical. We are at that kind of strange point of selecting the midpoint. All right, so right click, select the midpoint, and then that midpoint is going to be coincident with the center line to establish symmetry. All right, and that one I'm still going to say is flat, especially since they're giving us 4 and not a radius, so we'll go 4. Now, if we did this as the sketch pattern, I'd be able to dimension from this side to this side, but as the feature pattern, I'm going to have to take the 108 and divide it by 2. So 108 divided by 2, and that should give me the 54. All right, so as we dial these in, we have the 40 millimeters, and this is just a process of elimination. We're going to keep adding dimensions and relations until we get this thing figured out. So 40, and as it moves around and does strange things, it will also tell us that that relation didn't take, or we need to add another relation. So once that goes to vertical, then I should be able to take that endpoint, control select the circle, and I have a complete overlap. All right, the dimension then for this thing is going to be an extrude, but I need to shift it 1 more millimeter because this edge is 2 millimeters from the back, but this is already 1 millimeter. There I go doing math again. It's going to be 1 millimeter from the sketch, so an offset. And typically what I'll do is exaggerate it so I can make sure it's going the right way, and then go back and say 1 millimeter, and then our 18 millimeters minus 4 millimeters is going to be 14 millimeters. All right, and so from there to there is 2, and from there to there is 2. All right, we're making progress. We're getting down to the geometry. All right, so Boss Extrude 3 is the feature that I want to then Again, we could have taken the 4 lines in that sketch and done a sketch pattern, 24 instances. Um, there are times where sketches just become so complicated or there's so much geometry in them that a feature, a circular pattern, will work a little bit better. So it needs an axis of revolution. It did tell me that there are 24 somewhere. Yeah, the hint, there are 24 teeth, so they're not going to make us count those. 24. We go ahead and hit OK. Boss Extrude 3 was selected. If it is not selected, then we need to expand it out and make sure that that gets selected. And then we should be okay. All right, the last of our mix is going to be the radiuses on the internal, which was 2 millimeters. So again, a feature fillet is going to have the advantage of the speed. So 2 millimeters, and hitting tab will update the preview. And then we're going to pick any of the other verticals, pause so that we get the connected to start loop, and go ahead and hit OK. Actually, I needed more than that. Okay, so let's go back in and check the preview. There we go. That got a lot more of them. So I should have scanned across a little bit better, and then we can go ahead and hit OK and end up with all of our fillets. And I forgot the keyway. So let's do the rollback, because typically I am going to put the fillets and the chamfers last if I can help it. And we're going to go into a corner rectangle. And for what this is doing, it is 10 off of the center. So if I were to select the line and control select the origin and make that at the midpoint, then I could add the dimensions directly to the rectangle for 10 and a width of 3. And then features, extrude cut, through all or up to next. And we have our geometry. We'll roll forward to the fillet. Make sure to save this because I don't really want to start it over again. And we're ready to see how we did on our volume. So our volume goes 81,601. And then we're going to evaluate mass properties and 81,673. All right, interesting. Not too far off, and with the complexity of this model, I don't know that I'm going to be chasing that geometry that much. But as always, we can pick a few dimensions. But I think that looks pretty good, and we're close enough to call this one done.